not necessarily tribal or regional.
All right, thank you for staying. This is Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital in Abuja. We'll take a look at the dailies on Daybreak, beginning with Daily Trust newspaper. The lead story, it says, Tinubu, Wike's London meeting rattles PDP at Atiku. It has the riders that says Rivers governor may work for APC, according to source. Former VP, Mum, we are working to resolve PDP crisis, BOT chair. You'd also find above the lead story, Nigeria to receive fresh $23 million Abacha loot from US. Cholera kills 91 in 31 states as 12 die of monkeypox. On page 26, you'd also find Buhari orders prosecution of soldier that killed Yobe Islamic cleric. On page 25. You'd find the pictorial there shows you Sudanese take shelter in a stadium after being displaced by flood in Managil city in Algezira state, around 250 kilometers south of the capital yesterday. Below that, Touch Bank to launch mobile banking app. UK donates £15 million to tackle food insecurity, malnutrition in Northeast. 2023, Kwankwaso promises to reform maritime sector. These are the stories on the front page of Daily Trust this morning.
All right, let's look at the Punch newspaper for today. The lead story for the Punch says, presidential race, Tinubu, Wike meet in UK. PDP talks wobble. We also have a rider that says Rivers important for 2023 election victory. Amechi lukewarm. We also have another rider that says Wike has not told us he's leaving PDP, but he's not in Nigeria, says governor's associate. Right, just by the masthead, we have PSC workers threatening strike, commission suspends recruitment. Above the masthead, we have recovered Abacha loot hits $334 million. U.S. condemns corruption. We also have ASU parents propose 10,000 naira support levy for universities. There's also the story here. Nigeria recovers 86 billion naira stolen oil in 1 month. Also, beneath the pictorial we have pictures of a truck. Truck crashes into Lagos-Ibadan Expressway Bridge, causes gridlock. And then beneath that, there's a story here. PDP assembles 100 witnesses, says Oyetola's petition, time wasting. Cultists shoot rival dead in Lagos restaurant, suspect nabbed. Those are the major stories on the Punch newspaper for today.
All right. So let's take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning. The lead story says PDP crisis, stop bragging, Lamido tells Wike supporters. And then you also find ASU plans indefinite strike. Congresses end in 123 branches today. And then you also have above the lead story, Nigeria, U.S. signed pact on return of $23.4 million Abacha loot. Then you also have flooding. Presidency queries states on ecological funds. The $3 million power deal. Finance power ministers to face reps. INEC, EFCC disagree on Electoral Offences Commission bill. Zenith post 405 billion naira gross earnings in 6 months. NEBSA asked to refund 13.3 billion naira to government coffers. These are the stories on the front page of The Nation this morning.
And on to the Guardian newspaper, we have a late story that says, Wike raises stake, leads PDP governors to meet Tinubu. And then above that, we have a story that says, Presidency attacks the Guardian advertorial on Buhari's stewardship. And then beneath the pictorial, we have Serap, Nigerian Guild of Editors sue federal government to stakeholders urge downward review of TV radio fees. Then we also have another story here. You're misleading Nigerians, ASU tells federal government. These are the major stories on The Guardian for today.
All right. So on this day newspaper this morning, the lead story, INEC, electoral process incomplete without offences commission. You'd also see the writers, it says, backs bill seeking establishment of electoral court, ask AGF to steer clear. Says it secured 60 convictions in 125 cases from 2015 elections. EFCC rejects bill as plaque request reduced penalty for ballot snatching. Gbajabiamila, electoral crimes help riggers take control of government. And then you'll find above the lead story there, FG, US signed agreement on repatriation of $23 million, Abacha loot. Lamido, no one has offended Wike, no basis for reconciliation. And then at the very top, above the masthead, Zenith Bank powers on with double-digit toppling growth in first half 2022. So these are the stories on this day, this morning.
I think it's time now to take perspectives from our newspaper reviewer, Mr. Ben Shemang, the Director of News Voice of Nigeria. You're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, so let's get perspectives. Quite interesting stories this morning that we are seeing on the front pages. Yesterday, we saw that Nigeria and the US are signing an agreement to repatriate what we know as the Abacha loot in Nigeria. There's been all sorts of argument whether was it loot actually, and how much was it that the money, how much was the money that was looted here, such that it's taking more than 20 years for Nigeria to repatriate all the money. It keeps coming in tranches and like that. And others have argued, well, the money was not looted. So are we right to capture it Abacha loot? I mean, it's now like the official stand.
Well, let's call it the Nigerian money. And if it is said Abacha loot, which meant he looted Nigerian funds and kept abroad. If therefore Abacha was and is guilty of taking or siphoning Nigerian money and taking them abroad, so he gave to who? If you collected some stolen materials, you are a collaborator. But I do remember when Nigeria was suspended from the Commonwealth, Tommy Kimi was Minister of Foreign Affairs. There was a meeting in Camp Ubasi here in Abuja, early morning a certain day. After Nigeria had been suspended, Tommy Kimi left left Chogom in Zimbabwe then, and of course came to brief Abacha. There was an urgent meeting called traditional rulers of note, stakeholders, ministers, everybody, governors, military governors, they all were in that meeting. And they advised Abacha, you are fighting a war in Liberia, you are fighting a war in Sierra Leone. How will you come out of this? Sanctions here and there. They said, open an escrow account so that when the sanctions are too many, of course, Nigeria will fall into that money. Now, the issue is, how was this money saved? In his name? Or some people went and cornered some things. Now we're hearing Abacha loot, Abacha loot. Many people are alive who indeed should be able to clarify some of this.
Exactly. So, but there seemed to be some kind of silence about that,
honestly,
except for
Al-Mustafa,
Al-Mustafa,
who is always talking.
And then probably the wife of the late Abacha.
Yes,
himself.
yeah.
If the likes of Elder Oyelese were to be around, Kaloma Ali, Wadanas, Laz Unogu, I mean, these were die-hard Abacha. I mean, they would have been doing some explanations.
So
but
when-
unfortunately, many of these people have died. But the few that are talking, that are alive, are refusing to talk.
So who is responsible for the coining of Abacha loot?
You see, let
How
me
did
tell
it
you,
come about?
In the end, someone will just turn out and turn to the press, as usual, the weeping baby, the weeping dog. Say, look, the press coin it. Because if you go into the research, who actually coined it? But one thing is clear. Money is missing. Money is being returned. But how is that adjective? Abacha loot. Is the,
In fact, this
You know-
particular loot is tagged Abacha 5.
Exactly.
You know, and a lot of Nigerians were saying, at what point is this money going to finish? You know, because it just keeps saying, we have secured a signed agreement for this to come back, and then it just continues. But then the question is, when the money comes in, is it being judiciously used? This particular one, they say, is going to be used to complete the Kano-Abuja Road, Ibadan-Lagos Expressway, and then the second Niger Bridge. In your view, the ones that have come in before now, were they judiciously used?
Well, you see, the system is so omnibus. The system is so huge at the point, right from Obasanjo days, when money of this nature comes, they say it is already been plowed into the system. And of course, so if this one, they now mention 3 projects, as you've mentioned, okay, when they are finished, we know this is where this one went into. But the previous ones, we should be able to know some of these things. At the point they said, look, when government promised that they're going to give us some workers and some unemployed 5,000 naira per day, it is part of the money. And of course, you shouldn't be surprised because of insecurity, the need to handle humanitarian activities, coronavirus, feeding people pupils in or out of school. Of course, you can always say it went into there, into those areas. And you can also have situations where, because of security votes, you need some interventions here and there. Of course, this thing can come out or outside of the budget. So government will always find ways of explaining things to us. But I think that it should be done in such a way that the project should be very, very concrete in nature, as we now have Lagos Ibadan, Kano, Kaduna Kano, or the Niger Bridge. If we have them in concrete terms, tangible terms, things we can touch. Of course, Nigerians, you know, we love not just air marking, we want to eye mark. We want to see them also.
All right, so if you look at the Punch newspaper, it captures the same story. It says, recovered Abacha loot hits $334 million. U.S. condemns corruption. So it seems to suggest that this is all that have been gathered since the beginning of the repatriation, $334 million.
I mean, what about other... We've been hearing about euros too. We'll be hearing about pounds too. So if you have some pounds, you have some euros, and some other currencies, I mean,
Is it possible everything was converted into dollars?
if it was converted into dollars, it should be more than this, because the dollars is junior to these currencies, either pounds or euro, in terms of monetary value, in terms of figure, if you do some conversion. So I think that maybe the Federal Ministry of Finance, National Budget, Office of the Auditor General can give some further explanations to some of these things, so that it does not bring some debates again, as if that's the key thing the nation should be facing.
All right, so let's talk about Wike now. He is on all the papers, for the past weeks, or I would say months, since after the APC primaries. He has been on the front pages virtually on every day. And this time around, he is leading some governors to a meeting with Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And he seemed to be doing certain gymnastics that it's sending down shivers down the spines of the People's Democratic Party. Is this necessary?
Not just gymnastics, we're talking of acrobatics, some somersaulting. And the somersaulting is also taking the shape of amoeba, where you don't actually, anything you draw, you say it's amoeba. You draw a straight line, it's amoeba. But having said so, you see, I was listening to some APC chieftains. They said, look, when they said Wike became second, they were a bit happy that he was not the presidential candidate. But again, they were watching who would be the running mate. And it didn't turn out to be Wike. They said, oh, we're happier because the man would have delivered Niger Delta. That was their thinking. So to them now, APC, it is a good thing that PDP is facing this. And the romance is having with the APC is still giving the PDP some sleepless nights. But the same Wike will tell you he will never leave APC. But see, one of the riders, PDP, one of the riders is saying he is working for APC.
Well, in the Daily Trust newspaper, it says that a source said that there are two options on the table. One is either he leaves the PDP for the APC, or he remains in the PDP and works for the APC. A source said that. Yeah,
you see, that is where, when we're talking of credibility, when we're talking of dependability, when we're talking of people of substance, people we can trust, if you go to APC or you stay and work for APC, I mean, will you want to be called an agent, a saboteur or something? And so I think there should be a limit as to how you want to rattle, I mean, your party.
But in your view,
also shows, just a moment, it also shows that if, I'm saying if, I'm not saying when, if Atiku were to be president and you are inside there, you can weaken a government that is in power. Now, we've also seen people who have moved to APC. I mean, the likes of Fani Kayo, they've been moving here and there. When you cause confusion here, you move there and do same over there, at the point, some people begin to look at you. See, the press singing was saying, even though we are not discussing Fani Kayode, we're seeing that he has started pressing the obedient people, a kind of a movement. So when Wike is seen as having one leg there, one leg here, of course, you put him to a scale. Where really does he belong?
But why is it that the reconciliation efforts up till now have not yielded anything positive?
Exactly, but as we are talking, the committee, there is the Wike camp, there is the Atiku camp, you have the likes of Donald Duke, you have Shegu Mimiko, you have very many people of substance who indeed feel they are in charge of PDP, now trying to reconcile these camps. Now you can see the fire. I mean, the missiles sent up North Jigawa down to south rivers by Lamido, Sule Lamido. He said, look, what is it about Wike that people will have to go beg him? Nobody has offended him. But you see, we also hope that Wike should look at Nigeria, not just PDP. We should not rock the boat. We should learn to have a stable polity. And, you know, so that we give INEC, I mean, the probability to conduct free and fair elections. We should not create anxiety. And this is also the period where fake news will start generating here and there. Mm-hmm. And today we are saying, oh, when this thing happens, the next thing is, oh, it's generated by the opposition. Opposition sees the other thing on the other side, oh, it's generated by our opposition. Why is it so in Nigeria?
Right.
Let us simply have substance played in a territory called Nigeria for people to choose from.
Okay. All right. So you look at below the pictorial on the Daily Trust newspaper, you'd see international airfares triple over $464 million blocked funds. That's shaking the aviation industry. when you have to now pay triple of what you normally pay. I've heard that people are paying as much as 160 between Abuja to Lagos, you know, and all that. What's the implication of this on the economy?
Honestly, we are injuring ourselves in this country too much. Are there laws? If there are laws, let's simply follow them. Now, imagine investors coming into this country, and this is what they face. Imagine some exporters going to import whatever, because for now we are so much import dependent. Just air ticket alone, how much is it? Of course, you now come and load or download what you've experienced economically on the consumer. So it doesn't augur very well onto us. Look at today, they're talking of the second runway in Murtala Mohammed, that today they said is below standard. It can't take big aeroplanes. What happened? We should be looking at those things rather than you block some funds or something. It doesn't augur well for the aviation industry that is already battered by some man-made problems. Jet A1 is not available. I mean, it's not the fault of God. God has given us this crude oil. But what is happening? Mismanagement, you know. So a whole lot of things.
So do you think that this decision to probably delay the release of these funds is maybe because of the scarcity in the dollar? Or perhaps, and then maybe the implication of that could have on our forex.
Yeah, when we're talking of scarcity of the dollar, some 2 weeks ago, EFCC raided some of these bureaux de change, and what did they find out? Some people got this hard currency and they are hoarding it because theirs is to trade in money. Their commodity is money, and they are not investing that money in some companies. You hold it at home, and of course, you make money via sitting under a mango tree, and you just are making money. And so, if the laws are there and we have agencies that are supposed to checkmate some of these things, they should just do it, rather than giving Nigeria a bad name internationally.
So in your view, the government is not helpless? Because the impression everyone is getting is the fact that Nigeria does not have enough forex at the moment, and that is why these foreign airlines are not able to repatriate their funds. But so the impression is like it's a helpless situation, as it were. But is that what you think?
Well, I would say government is totally helpless. But are there agencies that are refusing to do their job? If we are saying when money comes into this country, we know the sources. Who has received this money? And it's gone to what banks? Now, we are also saying that if money is released by the CBN, hard currency or local currency, where does it go? And for what purposes? So if people begin to just repatriate their money from CBN, and companies are receiving their money, what is it being used for? You receive and we don't see that they are being used, then something is wrong somewhere. There has to be some policies that will ensure that money is brought back to the central bank, to commercial banks, so that trade can go on. But there has to be a limit as to how some people will refuse. Yes, it is their right to have their money in their houses. But again, it's wrong for them not to put it, it's wrong against conscience that you just hold it to yourself and it is not circulating. Money must circulate to ensure the economy grows. But if you feel that, yes, I've made it, one whole bedroom is just full of money somewhere, or some people are keeping that money in some farms, and monkeys are eating that money, it's just not the best at all.
They're still on the Daily Trust. There's this story there that's, Buhari orders prosecution of soldier that killed Yobe Islamic cleric. This was a man who offered lift to someone. What's happening to our humanity, and especially coming from somebody who is supposed to protect?
Exactly, and I'm sure that, well, let me not say I'm sure, but I feel like the sheikh gave that lift perhaps in honor, of the soldiers being soldiers. Sometimes you feel like these are people fighting the cause of Nigeria. So as his own part of patriotism,
Support.
you know, probably feels, oh, he's our soldier. We are proud of what he's doing. Let me give her help. Let me give a hand of help there. And then it turns out to be, you know, an end to his life. So what's the implication of this on the issue of trust?
Honestly, you see, when it comes to criminality, usually criminals will always look for the vulnerable group. Even when you want to attack, say, terrorism, they choose vulnerable groups. Now, here you are, a man who provides, I mean, when people, there is despair, there's hopelessness, you fall onto the cleric. They pray for you, they give you strength. And that's what the Sheikh is all about. And he gave you a right, believing that, look, these are citizens who indeed are protecting us. We can sleep very well because they are awake to protect us. Not knowing that you can now prey on an innocent person, pretend to look for a right. And the man felt, oh, these are human beings. And he gave you a right. Then you turn out to be a man of the underworld. And as it were, probably they were also dressed in military uniform. And that gave the cleric the confidence, you know, to give them that right. If they had been in Mufti like you and I in this studio right now, and with maybe some AK-47, you flagged him down.
No, his gun was wrapped. It wasn't open. It was hidden.
Yeah, I'm just giving this kind of, if you had been holding this AK-47 in Mufti, of course, there will be that suspicion. I don't trust these guys, and you zoom past. But when you see some people, whether you have a bag, you keep it by your side and standing looking for a ride, and you just feel, oh, let me give these people a ride. And so be it. And so I think that in terms of trust, it's going to make Nigerians to start questioning themselves. Do I give a ride when indeed I'm driving? Is there somebody I can trust that, well, see him on the road, let me give him a ride and feel that he is a human being, I'm a human being, let me take him to his destination. After all, I'm alone in this vehicle. I mean, it would cost me nothing if I give these people a ride, rather than a harmonious kind of a living. So I think that it is right that the president is saying, let the law take its course, and they should be prosecuted, and of course, the needful being done.
All right.
But is there something else that can be done? Because it just tells you that, yes, the security operatives are out there to fight criminals, but also amongst them, there are some criminals.
Honestly, you see, when it comes to criminality, is it Chinua Achebe who said, every lizard is always lying down flat? You don't know which one has stomach pain. Everybody pretends to be good. You don't know who really is the bad fellow. And check it, those who indeed have cheated families, killed members of family, kidnapped cases, find out who is involved. You see that a driver is involved, a housemaid is involved, or something like that. Someone somewhere must always prey on an innocent soul. Those who are attacked in churches or mosques, I mean, people have gone to pray. And you now round them up, do some killing, and kidnap some. And so you prey on the innocent souls, those who indeed are so vulnerable. And so, but Nigerians should still offer that help.
All right. Regardless of the bad eggs.
Exactly.
All right. Now, let's take a look at this story on the Punch newspaper. It's about ASUU. It says parents propose 10,000 Naira support levy for varsities. What's your take on this?
Well, I think that where they can, if you peg it 10,000 Naira, I tell you that there are some first-class students who indeed their parents hardly can get 10,000 Naira. And if you levy them 10,000 Naira, it will not be easy. But go the Abacha way. This Abacha that we are condemning started this education tax fund that has turned out to be TED fund today. How do we tax even companies? How do we tax to contribute to education?
So will ASUU, for instance, be disposed to, you know, taking this kind of assistance or help? Because We've seen in the past where a media organization attempted to raise funds. In fact, certain funds were even raised. And then ASU says, no, we don't want that. We don't want to take any support from anybody. We want the government to be responsible for this. We are not doing this for ourselves. It's for, the institutions. So when you see that kind of a thing, what does that say?
Well, let's see if ASU will also reject the call or proposal that parents should contribute to this. Because honestly, we need to have everybody on board to assist. If Dangote comes, okay, here I in terms of endowment, I endow this chair, do this, and he's giving some federal universities maybe 5 million naira around, 10 million around. Are we rejecting? If a media organization,
I think that has been happening. And there are individuals of goodwill that have been doing
exactly.
Such things.
We've been seeing endowments here and there. Now, if a media organization came out to say, we are going to support this. I was listening to that program. It was live, radio, TV. And suddenly, the ASU president just said, we are not part of this. We are washing our hands of this. And money was already going in, reaching millions. And they had a target. And I believe that by now, they would have reached somewhere. Now, like a student said, who is paying me for staying at home? And again, the issue has come up. ASU is saying, in spite of their staying at home, pay us. Now, if all the time I'll stay at home and I'm paid, at the point, look, let us begin to look at our conscience. Let us begin to look at the consequences on this nation.
Well, the president of ASU said,
wants, just a moment, ASU wants the ideal in terms of education in this country. But really, let's look at the inflow of money into this country. Yes, there are mismanagements here and there. There is corruption here and there, as always been pointed out, not just by ASU, by many other people. If we block some of these loopholes, some conduit pipes, some of this money would have been, harvested, let's put it this way, and plowed into education. But many things are so wrong to the extent that education sector will also need to be taken care of, just like any other
Mr.
sector.
Sherman, you were talking about the fact that ASU says they should be paid for the months they stayed at home. I want you to put it side by side, the argument by the ASU president, so that you speak to it at once. The ASU president said the reason they're asking for this is because when they come back, they're going to take the students through all the things that they would have done in the past 6 months. So I'd like you to look at the ASU president's position and then that of the government together.
That's why we're talking of give and take. And I tell you, the government and ASU are never, enemies at all. It's unionism versus government. Unionism is about pressure. Unionism is about looking for what is good for members as per welfare. Then you look at work environment. Then the students themselves, what is it they should have in terms of a situation where they need education? Research work, what should they be having? Quite a lot of things. So it should be give and take. No one should just remain where you are. Our government is standing up there, ASU is standing up there. Let there be a point of convergence so that the situation is resolved. If parents are saying, we are also going to kind of contribute to this, so be it. And I reminded a certain lecturer one day when he said, look, I can see that you've taken your children to a private university. Look at how much you are paying. If you were to take them, this money in a public school, do you know that in your village, this is the number of students you would have helped in terms of ordinary small scholarship? Now, that same lecturer, I tell you, his children are in private university. And I said, do you remember the argument you had with so person? I don't want to call it. He said, my brother, some of these realities, it's when you reach somewhere that you know them. And that's why even government, it's when some governors, some presidents leave offices that they know their mistakes. Now, when you are out of government, or before you enter government, you are the best administrator. But you enter there, all that you knew, your blueprint, you've abandoned them. And so it's a thing and that's why you also have advisors who indeed must always build those in authority to shape into line so that they deliver based on their covenant with their electorate.
All right. So thank you so much. With that, we would say we've come to the end of this segment on the show. Thank you for joining us on Daybreak and giving perspectives to some of these stories.
Thank you very much.
Our guest has been Ben Sherman, the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, joining us to talk about the stories on the front pages of our newspapers. We'll take a short breather, and then when we return, the show continues. Please stay with us.
But in a situation where you find that a person look at the same,
Not necessarily tribal or regional.
I have said that